Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. And those of you who are watching might, excuse me, might realize that something looks different. And it is because I got a new camera and a new selfie ring light, which I'm kind of blinded by actually as I'm looking at the lens right now. I appreciate your understanding that I'm recording again on a morning as opposed to the evening before. Last night we had some storms come in. It was quite a March day yesterday. And I want to tell you about it after we begin with recognizing the power that is truly, truly greater than ourselves, which is the more. And let us remember that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more. So I don't know about where you were yesterday, but I know out west there have been some crazy warm temperatures. And here in central Ohio, yesterday it got up to 85, 86 degrees. It was pretty amazing. Now, it didn't feel blisteringly hot because the sun really wasn't out that much. And also, there was a bit of a breeze. But yesterday in the afternoon, around 4 o'clock or so, I took my dog out and we were sitting outside. I was talking on the phone to someone, and I could see a thunderstorm forming as a cold front was approaching. And it was pretty amazing just to watch the clouds kind of coalesce and get darker and darker. Now, fortunately, I didn't get rained on in that storm, but nevertheless, it was quite something. And then a little bit later in the evening, my wife and I were coming home, and another storm blew through as the air was, so discombobulated, I guess. There was a lot of energy as the warmth and this powerful cold front were slamming into each other. We saw hail like I had not seen in a long time. And it was remarkable. We were driving and the hail was coming down, and you could hear it on the metal roof of the car. Fortunately, there were no dents after we got home and pulled into the garage. I checked to see if there were any dents and didn't seem to be, but it was really something that bang, 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 a very different sound than when you hear just normal rain, even really heavy, big raindrops. And then a little bit later in the evening, and this is why I didn't record last night, is my pooch and I were sitting on the couch and another storm blew through. Now, these were not unexpected. I was very busy watching these on my various radar apps, which I do have more than one. I imagine most people have one, maybe even zero. I have, well, we'll just leave it at more than one. Nevertheless, the storm came through. Fortunately, not a lot of thunder and lightning, which my dog does not like, but you could hear the pounding of the hail on the roof. And I went outside, or I opened the door to look outside and just could see the hail forming and building up. This morning, I went outside and there was a pile of hail, a little pile of hail, and I was able to bring it inside because my wife had slept through the hail coming down. She'd asked me if there was hail, and I said, yeah, here's the proof. So I brought a little handful of that in. But I needed to sit on the couch last night with my pooch because, again, she gets very, very upset when there's storms or noise and so forth. The reason I'm sharing this with you, y'all, is because, in 12-step recovery, we talk about a power greater than ourselves. And many of us in recovery call that God. It doesn't have to be, right? Because even if one is a materialist, scientist, humanist, believing atheist, agnostic, right? Believing that there is not a supernatural power, right? That everything is logic and organized and so on and so forth. There are powers greater than ourselves, right? I think of yesterday and the heat that was generated on that remarkably warm day. I'm not sure exactly where it was coming from. I think it was being drawn in, or drawn up probably from the south, to be sure. But then this powerful cold front slamming into that and creating those storms and creating so much disruption in the upper atmosphere, which is how hail forms. I don't know if you know this, but just a little side note, hail is basically raindrops that are getting circulated around and around in the upper, really high levels of these powerful, powerful thunderstorms where there's just a lot of energy. And then eventually the hail gets so heavy, these frozen raindrops get so heavy that they fall to the earth. So obviously that was happening yesterday. And this is a power that is greater than ourselves, right? And it is a power that can engender fear in us. Now, our ancients were very much afraid of these things, and so afraid of them, they personified these powers, these forces with, gods or lesser gods or deities, right? And even today, these can be so powerful and fearsome. I like to think of it as awesome, though, right? One of the things that we read about in scripture and we hear about in the Psalms is what is sometimes called awe and wonder, right? And again, the natural world and these powers, this more that exists in the natural world can just make our jaws drop and just make our eyes open as we are humbled by the sound of large hail hitting and watching that through the windshield, right? So power is a part of everything, right? And I was struck by this today. I'm reading a daily Taoism book. I don't know that I've shared this today, but it is kind of a little short reflection each day about something regarding Taoism. And you might be familiar. Tao is the way, and it's this philosophy, really, not so much a religion, but a philosophy that there is this way to everything. And when we are in harmony with the way, the flow, if you will, things unfold and happen and work basically. And when we get pushed against that, or we are out of harmony with that, there is a power that we can have, but it's not the full power, and it's really a power in opposition to this power, this way, the Tao, right? And right now, I'm reading through a part that's talking about leadership and how leaders lead, right? And the Tao says that we want that good leaders lead in the background. They lead quietly, they lead silently. Very, very different than what we're seeing here now in our times, right? And I thought about this right here and about fear. And I think about T. Rump and the fear that he engenders in his even in his own followers, his own party. I mean, the reason Congress can't do anything is because he has all of those GOP MAGAites wrapped around his finger, right? And this little reflection reminded me of that and the shortcomings of that. Leadership through fear narrows the road. The people follow, yes, but they stop thinking. People move less readily and their actions become brittle. There is no room for flexibility or creative response. And what looks like discipline is actually a kind of paralysis. Though fear produces results quickly, it is not good to govern, though, as it strips away the very qualities that make a society alive. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're seeing, right, y'all? This fear and this inflexibility and this brittleness and all of those things as we just see this democracy crumbling around us. And every day it seems like it's more and worse. Speaking of democracy, though, 225 days from today to the midterms. So primaries are coming up here in Ohio, Cinco de Mayo, and you may have primaries, whatever state you live in, coming up in the near future. But 225 to the midterms. I want to briefly read here the psalm for the day, which is Psalm 82. It's a short one. It's only 8 verses. And I'll read it in whole from the First Nations version. And again, it's a similar to something other ones that we've heard before. The Great Spirit takes his seat of honor in his council house. He sits in judgment among powerful spirit beings. He says to them, "How long will you continue to make twisted decisions favoring those who do evil? Hand out justice to the ones whose strength is gone and who have no family to help them. Do what is right to save those who are poor and helpless. Because the weak who have been rescue the weak who have been stripped bare. Set them free from the power of those who follow their bad hearts and broken ways. Those powerful spirits know nothing. They do not understand. They walk around in darkness, disturbing the harmony and balance of the earth. I said, you are powerful spirit beings. All of you are sons and daughters of the one above us all. Even so, you will die like any human being and fall like any ruler. Rise up, Creator, and give just guidance to all the earth, for all nations belong to you. And again, that cry for social justice, that cry for liberation, that cry for God saving the poor and the weak, and here the ones who have been stripped bare, right? Asking God to rescue them. And again, y'all, if we're learning anything through this time period, it is not God that causes this. And it's not God ultimately, directly, miraculously, who's going to rescue them or us from this. No deus ex machina, right now. I mean, it's us. It's we who have to do this. And when we open ourselves and educate ourselves and gather ourselves, that is when God is able to work through me individually, through you individually, and through all of us collectively, right? And that is what we are hoping for and praying for and working for. Don't forget this Saturday, is No Kings 3. I hope you have picked a place out. There's many in all over the country. I think 3,000 plus now. So find one that works for you. Get out with your signs and your noisemakers and just the attitude that this is our democracy and it is worth fighting for, and we are fighting for it. All right, y'all, let's end with, as we often end, with the serenity prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, not ours, be done. Be well, be bold, hold fast, y'all.